Ma'am Vera. Elvira looked up the moment she heard her secretary, Diane, calling from the office door. Yes? El Paraiso just called a while ago. Yes? What did they say? Vera asked, her voice brimming with anticipation. Diane walked into the office, a small smile on her face. They said the deal has already been closed. Vera dropped the pen she was holding. Even though she had braced herself for this possibility, hearing it out loud still left her stunned. Okay, she said quietly, disappointment washing over her. But Ma'am Vera, didn't you know? Sir Trees closed the deal. Vera stared at her secretary in disbelief. What? El Paraiso informed us that the contract was awarded to Montenegro. Sir Trees will be overseeing everything, and he's bringing us on board to handle the design. Diane explained. Vera let out a long breath. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Trees had done it again. Stepped in without being asked. Made the impossible happen. He truly was her angel, always there, watching her back, moving mountains just to keep her dreams within reach. Vera stared at the office wall in stunned silence, her hands trembling slightly as she picked up her phone. She scrolled to Trees' name and tapped call. He answered on the second ring. Hey, honey. Everything okay? For a second, she couldn't speak. Her throat tightened, her eyes stung. Then. You closed the deal, she whispered. Trees replied casually. Which deal are we talking about? Trees. Her voice cracked, half laughing, half sobbing. El Paraiso. You closed the deal for us. You. I just made a call, he said simply. You're the reason they said yes. I just nudged the door open. You're the one they'll remember. She covered her mouth with her hand, tears quietly slipping down her cheeks. You don't know how much this means to me. I do, he replied gently. That's why I did it. There was a pause. The kind that didn't need words. The kind filled with all the things she couldn't say fast enough. I love you, Trees, she finally said. I know. And I love you more. Trees crumpled the piece of paper into a ball and tossed it into the garbage can. His temper flared after reading a letter from an unknown sender. He grabbed the phone resting on his desk. He dialed a number and took the call. I want you to check on him, he ordered the person on the other line. Then he ended the call. He slumped into his easy chair. No one had the right to blackmail him. He would make sure that whoever was sending him letters would pay for the threat. He had found the letter stuck to the windshield of his SUV earlier that morning in the parking lot, just as he was heading to the office. Someone knew his secrets. He needed to find a way to catch whoever this person was. Trees was deep in thought when his phone's ringtone broke the silence. He checked it, it was Elvira calling. Hey, he greeted. Hi, Trees. I'm on my way to Montenegro. Are you in your office now? Dira asked from the other end of the line. Yes, he replied. Why? You miss me? He teased in a seductive tone. I always miss you, honey, Dira said with a tone full of meaning. Tree smiled at his wife's reply. Elvira was everything to him. He would do whatever it took to keep her by his side forever. He loved her so deeply that his vow to her was unshakable. Even if the truth from his past came back to haunt him, he would still love her for the rest of his life. As soon as the call ended, Trees' phone buzzed again. A message. He tapped the screen, and froze. It was a photo. Dira's SUV. Parked just outside the Montenegro Cafe. The timestamp, 2 minutes ago. Underneath, a single line of text. Nice timing. She won't see it coming. His grip tightened around the phone. His heart raced, not from fear, but from something far more dangerous. Rage. Someone wasn't just threatening him now. They were following her. He stood, already dialing a number. This time, his voice was ice. Activate the surveillance team. She's being watched. And I want eyes everywhere. Elvira parked her car in a spot not far from the Montenegro building. After grabbing her handbag and a box of donuts, she locked the door. She hurried toward the building's entrance. While rushing, she accidentally bumped shoulders with a man just outside the building. The impact was strong enough to knock the box of donuts from her hands, the same box she was planning to give her husband as a token of gratitude for awarding the El Paraíso project to her company. She owed him a lot. Sorry, she said, bending down to pick up the box. The man suddenly grabbed her right arm, startling her. Be careful. Not all angels are kind. Sometimes, they're devils in disguise, the man said in a cryptic tone. Elvira frowned and tried to place the man's face. But his features were hidden beneath a black mask and a ball cap. Excuse me? She asked, puzzled. But he didn't respond. He just walked away. Elvira stood there, confused, her eyes following the stranger as he disappeared into the crowd. She shrugged it off. Maybe the man was mentally unstable. She resumed walking, glancing down at the box of donuts. Thankfully, it wasn't crushed, or else the whole thing would have been ruined. Trees met her at the building's entrance. Smiling, Elvira approached and kissed him on the cheek. Hi, she greeted. Trees took the box of donuts from her hands and gently adjusted her shawl, which had shifted out of place after she bumped into the man earlier. She wore a sleeveless, sheer blouse with a shawl draped over her shoulders, paired with a black, below-the-knee skirt edged in lace. You're really beautiful, Trees said, kissing her on the head. Even though she wore 3-inch wedge shoes, Trey still towered over her with his 6'2" frame. I know, she replied playfully. He guided her toward the elevator area, where a few Montenegro employees were already waiting. The couple was greeted with smiles and quickly given space to step inside first. Trees pressed the button for the 20th floor, his office. You don't have any appointments right now? He asked. Nope. So I have time to visit my husband's office, Vera answered with a grin, throwing him a wink. Trees pulled her close to his firm chest and kissed her hungrily. Their kiss deepened, so lost in the moment they didn't realize the elevator had stopped at the 16th floor. A round of applause greeted them as the doors opened. Employees on that floor waiting for the elevator had witnessed everything. Embarrassed, Vera broke the kiss and gently pushed Trace away. Blushing, she quickly pressed the close button. Trees chuckled. Shy now? They've been watching us for a while, he said, nodding toward a tiny CCTV camera mounted inside the elevator. A moment later, a voice crackled through the elevator speaker. Wow, boss. You're such a flirt, teased the officer monitoring the CCTV feed. Good morning, ma'am, he added cheerily. Vera pinched Tree's side in playful protest. Cut it out, Apollo. Or I'll have you fired, Tree said with mock sternness, his finger resting on the emergency call button. I swear, boss, I'll behave. Don't worry, your office is soundproof, and CCTV free, Apollo replied before turning off the speaker. Trees could only shake his head at his employee's antics. Every day, Apollo greeted and teased him whenever he rode the elevator. Good thing he was a kind boss, and used to letting it slide. Apollo had been his classmate back in high school, before Trees moved to Canada for college. After graduating, he returned to the Philippines. He never expected to cross paths with Apollo again at Montenegro. Even back then, Apollo had always been the jokester, and if Trees was honest with himself, he'd missed that when he was away. The elevator doors opened on the 20th floor. Trees stepped out first and guided Vera toward his office. Arg. Why didn't you tell me there was a CCTV camera? Vera complained once they were inside. Duh, as if you didn't know every elevator has one these days, Trees replied casually, wrapping his arms around her from behind as she set the donut box on his desk. Vera stomped lightly in frustration. How could she forget? Whenever Trees was around, her mind just scattered, one kiss from him and her reason flew out the window. Damn. She hated herself for being so awkward. Come on, don't stress about it. They're just scared of me. If anyone gossips, I'll fire them all, he teased. Vera burst into laughter at that. She turned to face him, still in his embrace. Really? Pour them if you ever do that. Nah, they'll learn their lesson. So, why donuts? Huh? I thought you liked donuts, like you like me. Trees raised an eyebrow thoughtfully. Yours are the best, he said with a grin, then picked up where their elevator kiss had left off. Elvira clung to him, kissing him deeply. She adored the taste of his lips. But once again, they were interrupted, this time by a knock on the door. Trees muttered a curse under his breath. Vera bit her lip and quickly took a seat in one of the visitor chairs. His secretary entered, carrying an armful of folders and papers. Sir, Mr. Redcliffe needs you to check and sign these ASAP. It's urgent, she said, setting the documents on the desk. She gave Vera a respectful nod before stepping out. Looks like you've got a pile of work, Vera said with a sigh. Tree sat down and began flipping through the documents one by one, signing as he went. I have to go, she said after a moment, rising from her seat. Trees gave her a nod, already buried in paperwork. Vera sighed again. Her husband was always so devoted to his work, that's how he kept building his success. He never seemed to get tired. Trees, she said softly. He looked up. Yes? I love you. I'm heading back to my office now. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. She'd never grow tired of showing and telling him how much she loved him, until death do them part. I love you more. Be safe, okay? Call me once you're there. Okay. Vera left her husband's office in silence. She stepped into the elevator as soon as the doors opened. It felt like just yesterday when her father, Daddy Enrico, was still running the company. She missed him so much. She missed her parents deeply. Vera bit her lip, the pain of their loss tearing into her heart like an open wound. The scars never truly healed. She blinked back tears, wiped them away quickly, and composed herself before stepping out of the elevator. Without pause, she walked straight out of the building toward the parking lot, where her Porsche waited. Trees headed to the pantry area of the Montenegro building, carrying the box of donuts Vera had given him earlier. In the hallway, he ran into Apollo, the head of security and CCTV monitoring. What? Trees asked when he noticed Apollo staring at him. Did you and Ma'am Vera have a fight, boss? No. Why? I saw her crying in the elevator earlier. Trees felt his heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. He had sworn never to let Vera cry. He promised himself he would always make her feel safe and loved. But why was she crying? Had he done something wrong, something she couldn't tell him? Damn it. He needed to find her, now. He handed Apollo the box of donuts and rushed to the elevator, taking it down to the parking area. He jumped into his SUV and sped off, fast but still within the limits. Using his Bluetooth earpiece, he called Elvira from the phone in his pocket. The line rang, but she didn't pick up. He tried again. Still no answer. His worry deepened. He called her secretary, Diane, while weaving through the streets. Hello? Hi, Diane. Is Vera back in her office? No, sir. She hasn't returned since she visited your office earlier. Okay, thank you, he said before ending the call. He pressed harder on the gas, driving straight to their condo building. When he arrived at the underground parking, he immediately saw his wife's car. He parked quickly beside it, jumped out, and locked his door. He headed straight to the elevator. If anything happened to Vera, if she was hurt, in pain, or afraid, he would never forgive himself. Not ever. Elvira cried silently in their bedroom, clutching the framed photo of her parents. She missed them so much. Every time she remembered them, a deep, unbearable loneliness wrapped itself around her. She often wished they could come back to life, if only for a moment. She longed for their hugs, their love. She let herself drift through old memories, the happy ones from when they were still alive. 2 years had passed, and still her heart ached for them. She couldn't fully accept that they were truly gone. A sob tore through her. She couldn't hold it back anymore. The grief overwhelmed her. Out of the shadows, Trees stepped into the room. "Hey," he said softly. Elvira looked at her husband, and broke down in his arms. "Shoo, what's wrong?" Trees asked gently, his worry clear in his voice. "I feel so alone and empty, Trees. I miss my parents so much," she whispered. "I'm right here," he murmured, holding her close. "I'm not going anywhere. Whenever I'm at Montenegro, I remember them. I miss Daddy's laugh. Mommy's scolding voice. I miss everything about them," Elvira said through cracked sobs. Trees wrapped his arms tightly around her, his jaw clenched. "I love you, Vera. I'll never leave you," he promised. And he meant it with all his heart. Elvira clung to him, tears soaking into his shirt. "Thank you, Trees. Thank you for coming into my life." Trees tensed. What if she finds out the truth? Would she still be thankful? Or would she hate him for ever entering her world? That thought hollowed him out. He couldn't bear the idea of losing her. Not her love. Not her trust. Not her. Chapter 5. Elvira woke in Trees' arms, her head resting comfortably against the strength of his embrace. Sleep still clung to her eyes, but the sight of his face, so peaceful, so breathtaking, stirred her heart. His defined brows framed eyes she adored, and those lips, soft and familiar, drew her in like gravity. She traced a gentle finger across his cheek, smiling at the faint roughness of his stubble. He stirred. "You feel better now," he murmured, voice low and husky from sleep. She nodded. He caught her hand, kissed it with reverence. "Promise me, Vera. If ever you feel alone, call me. I need to be there for you. I'm sorry I worried you." "Maybe it's just the hormones," she said with a soft laugh. "Promise me." "I promise." Trees tightened his hold on her, his touch speaking volumes. A slow, knowing smile played at her lips as their playful rhythm returned. Flotation turned to fire, passion curled in the quiet between heartbeats, and love made the morning stretch endlessly. Afterward, breathless and tangled in warmth, Elvira pressed lazy kisses across his jaw. "We should go to work," Trees said, tapping her thigh. "Nope. It's our day off." "Really? I had no idea." She teased. "And I'm your boss today." "Yes, boss," he grinned, catching her in another kiss. And so the world outside faded. They let time melt away, room by room, hour by hour, wrapped in nothing but each other. "What?" Tree's booming voice echoed through his office as he spoke to his wife over the phone. "Yes, honey. Mr. Kong wants me to come with him to El Paraíso so I can see the entire resort before the renovation begins. I'll be bringing Felicia and Jerome, my 2 junior assistant designers," Vera said from the other line. Tree's jaw tensed. The thought of Vera traveling with another man, especially being far away from him, made his blood boil. "No," he said firmly. "What, Trees, I can't say no to this. You know how much I've looked forward to this project." "Then send someone in your place," he snapped. "No. I've already agreed to Mr. Kong." "I'm not backing out," Vera said, irritation rising in her voice. Trees let out a sharp breath. "Fine. Then I'm going with you." "Let's talk about this later at home," Vera said flatly before hanging up. Trees hurled his phone onto the carpeted floor of his office. There was no way he was letting her go to El Paraíso alone. Thoughts raced through his mind, none of them good. Even if she was bringing her staff, he couldn't feel at ease. He knew it, he was a possessive man. And Elvira belonged to him. Only him. Whether she liked it or not, he was going with her. Elvira slowed the car as she drove home. Her headache had been persistent all day. She'd eaten on time and didn't feel sick, just off. She pulled over to the side of the road and turned off the engine. Rifling through her handbag, she hoped to find something for the pain. Luckily, she found a paracetamol tablet. Grabbing her tumbler, she took the medicine with a sip of water. Lately, these headaches had been coming more often. Usually, they disappeared quickly, but today's refused to let up. It had started just after lunch, and she'd tried to ignore it. Trees eased off the accelerator as soon as he spotted her car parked by the roadside. Alarmed, he quickly pulled over and rushed toward her window. Elvira flinched at the knock on her window, nearly choking on the water she was drinking. She rolled it down, and saw Trace's worried face. "Are you okay, honey?" he asked, clearly concerned. She nodded. "Just a mild headache, hon," she replied with a small smile. "You sure?" His voice was still thick with worry. "Yeah. I'm fine." Once satisfied that she was okay, Trees returned to his car and drove behind hers all the way to their condo's parking garage. After parking, he hurried to her car and opened the door for her. "Thanks," Vera said. Trees took her hand, and they entered the parking elevator together. She leaned her head on his shoulder, her dizziness hadn't fully passed. He gently wrapped his arm around her and supported her until they reached their unit. Trees carefully helped her onto the bed. "Want something to eat?" he asked while removing her shoes. "Yes, please. My head's been hurting since earlier." "I already took something for it," she murmured weakly. He kissed her forehead. "How about chicken porridge?" "That would be great." "Thank you." She gave him a tired smile. Trees kissed her lips before leaving the room. Elvira closed her eyes, the medicine beginning to work as sleep tugged at her. After cooking the porridge, Trees poured it into a bowl and placed it neatly on a wooden tray along with a glass of water. He quietly entered the bedroom. Elvira was already asleep. He set the tray on the bedside table and sat beside her. His gaze lingered on her peaceful face, heavy with love and regret. "Please, forgive me someday," he thought. Please still love me, even after everything. Trees clenched his fist. He would do everything to keep his secret hidden. No more pain. No more lies. He loved Elvira too much. And he'd do whatever it took to keep her happy, even if it meant living with a truth he could never let her see. Vera woke up feeling like the entire room was spinning. She was dizzy and nauseated. She wanted to get up, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Closing her eyes again didn't help. When she opened them, the dizziness only worsened. She clutched her head. What the heck is happening? She didn't have a fever, but she felt weak and queasy. What is going on with me? Her phone rang. Reaching for it on the bedside table, next to a food tray with a bowl of porridge and a glass of water, she saw the meal Trace had prepared for her last night. She must have fallen asleep before eating it, and he probably didn't want to wake her. "Hello," she answered, massaging her temples. "Hey, how are you feeling now?" It was Trace. He was already at the office. She glanced at the clock, it was past 8. "Trace, did you turn our room upside down or something?" "Because that's exactly what it looks like right now," she said dizzily. "What are you saying? Are you okay?" My headache is gone, but I feel like the world is spinning." "Like, actually spinning?" "Silly. The earth is revolving, you know," Trace joked, not yet grasping her meaning. "Yeah, but I mean our room." "Wait, are you really okay? What's going on? Vera, is everything all right?" His voice was laced with rising panic. "I'm still in bed. I can't get up. And I'm pretty sure I'm about to throw up in our bed. I'm sorry. I'm coming. I'll be there in a few minutes." Vera took a deep breath. She wanted to make it to the bathroom, but she could barely sit up, let alone stand. She decided to wait for Trace, at least she could still hold back the nausea for now. Trace found her vomiting on the bed when he got home. She was pale and trembling. Without wasting a second, he rushed her to the ER. He paced anxiously in front of the emergency room, unable to keep still. The doctor finally came out. It was his old friend, Alexis. "Trace," the doctor called. Trace approached him immediately. "Is she okay?" "She's just fine. I'm going to refer her to an OBGYN. "And congratulations," Alexis said, clapping him on the back. "What?" "She's 8 weeks pregnant." "That nausea?" "Classic morning sickness." "Doc, are you serious?" "Yes." "Why, aren't you happy?" "Hell, this is amazing." "Of course I'm happy. I just wanted to make sure this isn't another one of your pranks." "Why would I joke about this?" "Because you're the king of pranks," Trace muttered, recalling all the chaos Alexis used to stir up back in high school. Those were wild days. "Come on, man. That was ages ago," Alexis said, rubbing the back of his neck. He handed Trace a business card. "She's one of the top OBGYNs in the country." Trace glanced at the card. "Thanks," he said, then quickly headed back into the room. Elvira was holding her nose with her fingers. The hospital smell was unbearable, it made her head pound. "So, this is what it's like to be pregnant? So picky. So dramatic." Everything made her feel sick, from certain smells, to how things looked, even the male nurse standing too close. His face was weirdly irritating. Trace entered the room, and Elvira's face instantly lit up. "Honey, you know I don't like him/her," she said, pointing to the nurse. The flamboyant nurse rolled their eyes dramatically. "I apologize for her behavior," Trace said, offering a quick apology to the nurse before guiding his wife gently out of the ER. Elvira wrapped her arms around his waist as they walked through the hallway. In that moment, Trace felt overwhelming joy. He was going to be a father. Soon, they would be a real family, complete and whole. El Paraíso Beach Club Resort is a place where you can see one of the most beautiful and exquisite man-made waterfalls, a cascading vale sculpted to perfection, its crystal waters catching the morning sun like liquid glass, situated proudly at the entrance to showcase the elegance and charm of the resort. The sea shimmered in hues of sapphire and teal, its surface rippling gently like silk stirred by the breath of the wind. You can see people enjoying their swim in the sea, while jet skis, banana boats, and even yachts wait nearby ready for guests and patrons to rent and enjoy whenever they please. Near the guesthouse are restaurants offering Italian, Korean, Japanese, Chinese, American, Spanish, and Filipino cuisines. Aromas of freshly baked bread mingled with the sea salt breeze, and within walking distance are a bake shop, a wine and bistro club, a cozy coffee shop, a spa, a souvenir store, a mini grocery, and even a quaint little bookstore tucked like a secret between indulgence and escape. Golden light filtered through the canopy, dappled across stone pathways that led to quiet sanctuaries, each one humming with the quiet luxury El Paraíso promised. The resort is truly a haven for those seeking peace and stunning views of the ocean and shore. Though El Paraíso is well known and prestigious, only a select few who can afford its upscale rates are welcome to stay. The resort also hosts a private club for billionaire members, a sanctuary wrapped in velvet silence and sea breeze, their exclusive exit from the noise of the outside world. Elvira yawned for what felt like the 100th time, her breath catching in the quiet lull that surrounded the resort's accommodation wing. Since leaving their home, boarding the plane, and finally arriving in the sun-drenched splendor of Palawan, drowsiness had clung to her like a silk shawl, soft, heavy, and unrelenting. She longed to stretch out on crisp white sheets and let the lull of ocean winds sing her to sleep. But for now, she found herself waiting beneath the warm, golden light of El Paraíso's welcome hall, surrounded by polished wood, soft lounge music, and the subtle perfume of orchids arranged in delicate vases.